fans, welcome back to Room 237. I got another 80s slasher film. And going to 1987 with Open House. This is a different cover than what you'll see in the thumbnail. I like that one better. But this is one I actually had never heard of. I just came across it on YouTube. This is how I saw it, was YouTube. And as I've said before, by the mid-80s, slasher films were pretty much on their way out. There really were no original ideas. They were becoming more self-referential, self-parody, certainly self-aware. This, I wouldn't go as far as say it's becoming a self-parody, but it's definitely aware of what it is. And I think it's a very silly slasher. Granted, it is a different idea. It's someone going to these houses that are for sale during open houses and killing realtors and clients. Sure, that hadn't been done before. Doesn't really star anyone I know of except Adrienne Barbeau. That was kind of the selling point for me to check it out because I really like Adrienne Barbeau. I always know her as Billy from Creepshow. She's my favorite voice of Catwoman. She voiced Catwoman in Batman the Animated Series. Of course, she was in John Carpenter's The Fog. Bunch of stuff. I always enjoy seeing Adrienne Barbeau. She was also in Dexter. The star of the film is a guy named Joseph Bottoms. Couldn't imagine growing up with that name. He wasn't in anything else I know. Nope. Mary Staven, Rudy Ramus, Robert Miano, Scott Thompson Baker sounds familiar. Lots of soap operas. Nothing else I know. And directed by Jag Mundra, who... It's funny, there was a movie in the 80s called The Jigsaw Murders. Tales of Kama Sutra. Erotic thrillers. Okay, that actually makes sense. But anyway, and the story is, it opens up, there's a girl on the phone. She called into KDRX. It's a radio show with this doctor named David Kelly, which is funny because I know someone by that name. A radio psychologist has like a survival show. People call with their problems. He talks them through them. She shoots herself on the air. And then later on, there's this real estate woman showing off the house to this couple and discovers the remains of another victim. So it was kind of confusing at first because she finds the body in the tub of a young girl. I thought it was her. I thought it was the girl that shot herself. I thought she shot herself in the bathroom. But no, there's blood written on the mirror that says sold. And come to find out, it's the fourth victim of a string of victims of someone called the Open House Killer. And killer eventually starts to call the radio show and says his name is Harry and keeps talking about his killings. Adrienne Barbeau plays this woman, Lisa, who runs the real estate agency where these real estate agents are being killed. There's this one guy, sort of the stereotypical big, overweight, kind of sex-driven, pervy real estate guy. He's Adrienne Barbeau's like rival. It even comes out that he's trashed some of the houses that she shows off. But a lot of the VHS covers and DVD covers shows like a pipe with straight edge razors put all around the tip. Cool looking weapon. That appears once. And the few kill scenes we get, there's really not much to them. But well, the thing about them is the first time this happens is when the first real estate agent finds the dead girl in the tub. There's just long scenes of just screaming, camera angles like on the dead body, woman screaming, dead body, woman screaming, like weird, like it even gets kind of shaky. Very poor cinematography when it comes to those scenes. Or the scene with the pipe with the razors. That, again, it's... I believe that was also a buyer and a older real estate woman. They're like hiding in the bathroom. I think his fingers even got cut off from the door. Or he was trying to shut the door that he used the thing, cut his fingertips off. But even then, it's like him trying to get in through the door, the camera just like going like this on them screaming, even getting kind of shaky. That, some of the acting, the poorer parts of the film. I mean, I like the idea of, I feel like there's too much going on. It would have been enough to have, okay, there's like someone going around killing real estate agents and clients, or there's a killer going around killing listeners to this radio show with a radio psychologist. It just feels like there's too many ideas in one without properly executing either idea. It's definitely one of the more ambitious slasher films of this time. Granted, 87, that's the year we got Stepfather. I think 88 was a Maniac Cop. But I think Return to Horror High was 87. I would probably say this is better than that. But of the late 80s, sure, this one is considered more ambitious. I will give it that. But I'm pausing because I don't really know what to say. When you get scenes of when the killer is going after someone, and it just has those really, that poor cinematography with the not really zooms, but like the wavy cameras and the shaking and up close of the screaming. It feels unbalanced with everything else it's trying to do. I mean, granted, there's a lot of ideas. There's this younger real estate woman who she's killed by being tied up. He pours champagne on her. Then he has these frayed wires that he puts on her, plugs it in, flips the switch. She gets electrocuted. And, which, when we get up close of her chest where the wires are, the effects look really good. It looks like burnt flesh. But it's not an effects film. I mean, when those two people get killed with the pipe with the razors, like, you would think, oh, that would be a great big effect, but there's really nothing to it. Maybe I saw a cut version. It's just as long as any other version, so and I was thinking of this. The Adrienne Barbeau's rival, he gets a call to, there's this one woman that wants to sell her house. So he goes to her, turns out it's a dominatrix. So she's gonna dominate him. He gets decapitated off camera, but we see his head. And his head is obviously a prosthetic head. Yeah. Which, up until that point, I thought the effects looked pretty decent. But when I saw how fake his head looked, and I thought back to the movie I just reviewed, I think I uploaded it today, 1981's Bloody Moon, which is a very, very poor Spanish-German slasher film. That has a decapitation scene with a very realistic prosthetic head, prop head. Very well done. This was like, when I think of how that had a better effect than this, that's saying something. Granted, Bloody Moon is a poor movie, but the only reason to watch that film is for the decapitation scene. But when I was thinking of how realistic that head was and how fake this one was, I was like, oh man. And eventually, there's an inspector that gets assigned to the radio station. They tap the phone lines. They put it out there that they tap the phone lines. And eventually, Adrienne Barbeau is abducted. And the killer, Harry, makes a call saying, you know, I'm going to kill her in X amount of time. She gives him a clue. He allows her to talk to David over the phone. She gives a clue as to where she is. She says, like, remember Mary Lou. Because earlier in the film, there was something about Mary Lou in the house. Allergies. So he goes to the correct house, and the killer is, I want to see who plays him because he looked familiar. Can't click on his name, but Darwin Swalve, I guess is how you pronounce that. He's this big, sort of burly, big bearded, homeless guy. And when David shows up, he's kind of bummed out that there's no news crews or radio people because he has a big statement he wants to say. His motive, spoilers, is the big corporations and real estate agencies jacked the prices up on homes, made it so he could afford a house. He couldn't have a home. And then I guess he was squatting in this one house. Says he took care of it. And then the realtors and clients came and killed him. Okay. I mean, that's what I got out of it. And then it was funny because he's holding Adrienne Barbeau. He's about to slit her throat. He gets shot because the inspector radio guys show up. He gets shot once. I mean, the guy has what looks like a 357, a very powerful handgun. She runs to David, so he's just standing there. So, of course, they just shoot him like 3 more times. Falls through a window. The inspector goes out. He's still alive. Even when he gets up, there's a bunch of blood and meat, brains looking like all over the balcony. And there's a fight. And then, like, the inspector hits him. He backs up against a wall. Then he just charges. The inspector moves. He goes off the balcony, dies. And then it ends with, the credits and some, like, well, you're a realtor? How you gonna help a girl like me? And, yeah, ends with him talking to someone. The music, which, like, the fight with the inspector and Harry on the balcony, it was like every hit, the music would go up. It's like, okay, I guess that's cool. But the music when that guy Barney goes to meet the dominatrix, it sounded like music you would get in a comedy film. Which really just, how self-aware is this movie? I mean, I guess the director had done a lot, has done a number of American exploitation films. Dramas, string of horror and erotic thrillers. But I'm curious as this one's kind of tricky because at some parts it feels like it's taking itself seriously, but the scenes where, yeah, you have the killer trying to get to someone and it's just the non-stop screaming and the shaky cam and the wavy uh, cinematography, it feels like it's taking chuckles at itself. So this one's kind of tricky. Uh, I can say I enjoyed the film as much as I've never seen a slasher where realtors and clients were the victims. New one for me. Uh, but when I started this marathon, I watched a film called Iced. And I kind of waited too long and I forgot it. So I have to watch it again before I do a review. But that is a ski resort slasher. Still a bad movie, but I'd never seen that before. So I can say, but now I've seen that. Kind of like with this. I mean, most of the acting was okay. I mean, Adrienne Barbeau didn't really have a lot to do. I mean, she had more to do in almost everything else I've seen her in. Creepshow, The Fog, Swamp Thing. I guess the guy Joseph Bottoms, okay, must have sucked having that name. He did all right as the lead. That one Barney guy was really over the top. A lot of almost all the female realtors were just so over the top with just their uh, a, a, a bubbly southern accent, just way over the top. And I thought that was a cool weapon, the pipe with the straight razors. And that one little part when you saw when she got electrocuted, her chest was all burnt, looked like melted flesh. It could have been a cool effects film, but then they had that incredibly fake looking head that even Bloody Moon looked better. It's a mixed bag. I'm not sure if this will be a rant. Uh, yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I, yeah, I'm stumped. it, it really does feel like it's trying to take itself seriously while having fun, but then you just get to those scenes where it feels like it's over the top on purpose, sort of as a satire of its own genre. But yeah, I didn't even want to spend this much time on this movie, but that is 1987's Open House. Thank you for watching.